Hi, today I'm going to cook pulled pork from our pork shoulder roasts. It's pretty easy. It's 2 ingredients, pork and salt. I'm going to add some onions, actually 3 ingredients. And I might decide towards the end to add a few other spices or not. We'll see when the time comes. I'm going to brown the meat first in a hot Dutch oven. Add the onions. Then throw it in the oven for about 3 hours. Add the onions and the salt. I've got a couple pork shoulders here. They're each about 4 pounds, a little over 4 pounds. One of them is bone in. The other one here has a net wrapping around it. Sometimes the butcher adds the net when it's kind of an odd shape, and that helps keep it formed. It would be nicer that way for slicing at the table, but we're not going to slice at the table. We're actually going to cook this in the oven until it's falling apart, and then we will shred it, pull it, and add a few seasonings and eat it that way. So I'm going to pull this net off before I brown it and put it in the oven. Added a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and we'll toss our first roast in. I usually like about a medium-high heat. I'm going to cut this net off. I usually give it a couple of minutes on each side. One thing about pork roast is it produces its own fat. As the fat melts, keeps plenty of fat in the pan for browning, so I probably won't need to add any more olive oil. Look at that nice brown roast. Okay, one down and one to go. You can see why they had the net around this one. It's already falling apart. There we go. You might wonder why I'm cooking 2 4.5-pound roasts for a family of 4. It's because when you cook all your food at home and you eat real food, you learn that leftovers are an important part of the day. Okay, I'm going to call it good on this. The whole process for those 2 roasts took about 10 minutes. You'll see there's quite a nice thick fat cap on the one. That means there's going to be a lot of fat melting in that pot while it cooks in the oven. It's going to make it awesome. There, I went to the farmer's market and got 4 average size, medium size onions here. I'm going to slice them for the pot, put those on the bottom of the pot when we put the meat on top. Okay. Now these don't have to be too finely chopped. They're going to turn to mush in the bottom of the pot. I usually just give them a couple slices, a couple different directions, and call it good. Good enough. We'll add those to the pot. Still pretty hot. A little sizzle there. Okay, I'm going to add some salt at this point. I like to have it cook with some salt. I hope these 2 big roasts fit in this pot. Add some more salt. Remember, this is going to cook down and fall apart. We're going to pull it apart and shred it and stir it all up, so this salt will get distributed through the meat as we do that. I'll probably let it cook for a couple hours on 350 and then pull it out and see if it shreds, and if not, we'll put it back in for a little while longer. That's it. I'm keeping this kind of plain, this recipe kind of plain. Sometimes I add herbs at this point, like rosemary, but I'm contemplating putting a mole sauce in this at the very end. We'll see what kind of mood I'm in a couple of hours, so I'm going to hold off on any further seasoning until after I cook it. And I think that's it, so into the oven we go. Lid on the pot, 350. It's 3 o'clock now, 3:06. We'll check it in a couple of hours and see what we think. Okay, it's 5:07. Let's see what we've got. It's still not quite tender. Yeah, take a look at this. It's not pulling really. More of it is it's cooked clear through, but it's still not real tender. It's tearing apart. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick this back in the oven for a while. Let it cook. 3 hours in the oven. By the way, I turned the heat up to 400. After the first hour, I checked, and 350 wasn't gonna cut it. Ooh, look at this. Okay, I've got it chunked up into smaller chunks now, like this. And it's not really tearing, so I'm going to put it back in the oven some more. It breaks apart with a little effort, but it doesn't just fall apart. So back in the oven it goes, a little bit longer. Okay, so here we are 4 hours later. Cooked it mostly on 400 for 4 hours, and it's absolutely fallen apart. This is what we like to see right here. So I'm going to go ahead and shred this whole pot, shred it into little strips, and then we'll check it for salt, add salt if we need to. And I still haven't decided if I'm going to add mole. Check this out. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Let's try a bite of this. This is awesome. Okay, I think I'm going to end the video here. This turned out so awesome, we're having it for dinner just like it is.